You could have bread every single day and be just fine. I think if you lived in an environment that peanut butter and jelly sandwich was your most nutritious meal of the day, I would say if you have to eat 3 of those a day, like that's okay.
Then eat them.
It's okay. And if you're doing all of the other things like we talked about in this box of where are your calories, where's your protein, where's your water, where are your sodium levels, where's your fiber, all of these things are in check. If bread is included in that little space every day, go for it. If you're finding that you're really struggling with gluten, of course, make that adjustment.
It is the Fit for Radio podcast, and I'm your host, Drew Tiedemann, here at the Stafford Hills Club. Now, if you haven't been here before, you're missing out. Not just the saltwater pool, which is, you can hear the music popping, people getting out for summer break. It's a staycation all summer long here at Stafford Hills, but it's not just that. It's a premier tennis facility. It's also the place I choose to work out. It's got great recovery facilities, and my wife loves the classes here. And right now, I'm actually very lucky to have a guest in here who knows a lot about the Stafford Hills Club, as she is the director of fitness here at the club. Her name is Wendy Arendt. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. We've been trying to get you in here because you've got a lot of knowledge about different things in fitness, health, wellness, all this stuff. Right. Long before you and I actually got introduced, I'd see you training people, but also overseeing your staff here who super friendly and knowledgeable group. How long have you been here at the club?
I've been here just shy of 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a handful of people like that. They just celebrated another instructor here.
Products director, Francie, just 10 years. Most of our leadership team has been here just about 10 years or more.
Which tells you something about a place. A lot of these clubs have a lot of turnover, but when you come here, you want to stay here. And that's why they haven't been able to peel me out of the chair quite yet.
It is very uncommon in the industry. And out of all the places I've been, I will say it's like the best team.
It's definitely worth a look.
At the top and all the way down.
Hit them up today if you don't believe us, staffordhills.com. Tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. And remember, get in where you fit in, because family memberships do fill up, and I'll be at the pool, and I really want to see you there. Now, we're going to talk about some myths in health, wellness, fitness, things like that, because I think we all get inundated, especially this day and age with social media and everything, where you are told that this is how you take care of yourself or how you eat or how you sleep, and not sure it's an expert telling you the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
So let's just kind of start at the top. Let's start with breakfast, something very simple. Now, we were raised, at least in my generation, raised that you got to have a good breakfast. A breakfast starts the day, got a breakfast, lunch, and then a well-rounded dinner. And what I found as I got older and my metabolism slowed down, that is a lot of calories for a little guy like me.
It's also like everybody's so different, right? So it really is, and this is going to go for 90% of what we talk about, is the whole all or nothing or always or never does not usually apply. So for some people, they may wake up and really need to eat a good breakfast before going to work out. They're going to get a better workout, run, whatever it is that they like to do. If they have a good breakfast, they feel amazing. I teach at 5:30 in the morning. I can't eat a big breakfast before that. I just feel better eating right after that. So if I was going to go maybe on a 8 to 10 mile run, I would need to get up early and have something to sustain. So it really is so dependent on the person, what works best for you. And then if you're looking at it from a weight management type of viewpoint, then a lot of times I think we got the whole got to eat breakfast because it stokes the metabolism and starts things up. And at the end, it is mostly math, right? Calories in versus calories out, which we can kind of discuss a little bit more. But whether that is 500 calories at breakfast or you're waiting till 10 a.m., it's still the same number. It all ends up being calories in, calories out. So when you eat those calories, for the most part, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's just going to be when you feel better. Nighttime eating can kind of make a difference a little bit for sure, but for breakfast, If you are one of those people that wakes up hungry and you want to eat, do it. If you don't believe the whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Mm-hmm. For me, I kind of look at it as like it's like a bucket where I'm pouring food into the bucket. But if the bucket's on fire, which is like when you're working out or just being active, you go for a hike or whatever, you obviously can pour more into the bucket because it's cooking off as you go. I also have this kind of weird thing that, because I normally fast if I'm not going to the gym. If I go to the gym, I'd like some protein in my body just so I'm not like getting lethargic or last thing I want to do is like fall over in a gym.
Right.
But if, say it's the weekend and my wife's like, hey, we're going to all eat breakfast together and I don't want to miss out on that, so I eat the breakfast, I'm almost immediately hungry for another meal.
It totally can happen, especially because if it is heavier on the bread products, which I'm, again, not one to say don't eat bread, but it can make
it's a slippery slope.
It's why they give chips and salsa at the beginning or bread at the beginning of a meal at a restaurant, is because it does kind of expand and make you want to continue to eat. And it's not as satiating. So for sure.
And so if I'm in a fast where I'm just and not working out, if I'm in a fast where I just kind of train myself to where I don't truly get hungry until that noontime hours, I'm not starving. So and like you said, everybody's different, but I think it's kind of listening to your body too. And it's like, okay, well, when I do X, Y, and Z, this happens. When I do it like this happens. And then you can kind of blueprint your layout.
Sure. And depending on your goals, right? I mean, everyone is different. Like, what is your why? Like, we say this a lot in every industry. What is your why? That's going to make a big difference on if I'm training for a marathon. I'm going to maybe have a whole different focus than if I have a client that maybe is looking at weight management. That's going to be a whole different conversation. So again, it kind of all comes down to every single person is different. What are their goals? What are their genetics? What are their hormones? Like, everybody's so different that,
but a calorie deficit is going to,
at the end of the day,
it's going to move the needle.
90% of the time, the calorie deficit is what makes weight loss happen.
And which is kind of sad because they don't sell that on television. They don't say, if they're selling some sort of a weight loss drug or like a hydroxy cut back in the day,
Totally.
they're not going to say, or you could live in a calorie deficit.
Right.
Because that doesn't make anyone any money.
No, totally. And I think that, now we do have great tools like GLP-1s that help people live in a calorie deficit without feeling like they're starving all of the time. And I know that that's kind of such a thing that in the fitness world, people can be very judgmental about. But
there's definitely two schools of thought that are going around on it.
I'm very pro because I think that understanding everyone is a little bit different. And, you have 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters. Just as a kid, like, one child will be like never hungry and you have to force them to eat, right? Like,
so true.
They could go all day and you have to like force feed a half a sandwich in them. And then you might have another kid that is like, I want a snack. And they want to eat constantly. That's no different in adults. So say you have someone that is in the space of just really their body is hungry because genetically they are different makeup, that the hormones are not as prevalent that make you feel satiated. So if you're hungry all of the time, yes, you can go in a calorie deficit, but you're miserable. So if you have a tool that helps you not be so miserable in that calorie deficit, as long as you're under the guidance of a doctor and a physician and, you're safe, I think that tools can be really helpful so you don't feel like you're starving yourself, because there's way worse ways to go about weight loss than GLP-1s.
100%. And those things, they just cascade 1,000 other problems. And when you start doing those things, it's hard to come back from it.
Sure.
Now, I think with the GLP-1s, I mean, it's obvious one of those things we're still early in the long-term effect of it. But one thing I am extremely supportive of is the idea that somebody whose weight is becoming a health factor where they're not going to survive anyway if they don't get control. Right. Like, it's not about vanity, it's about health.
Right. And I mean, there's so many people around that are on it that, yes, diabetes and cholesterol, your blood pressure, there's so many things that, like, I have clients that, like, are off so many medications because of it. So And they have been around actually for a really long time. They've just been used for other things. They've been used for addiction. They've been used for diabetes for a while.
Yeah.
So I think we tend to say because they haven't been in the mainstream for a long time that we think they haven't been around a while. They have. And they're FDA approved, like better than a lot of the supplements. Supplements are not FDA approved, right? And so
take our word for it.
Yeah. And so,
It also, from friends of mine who have taken it, I've noticed that they say that it is it takes away cravings for alcohol as well. So if you think about, well, it's this and that, it's like, well, you're also probably saving yourself on the back end.
I mean, alcohol, that's
a whole other topic.
Right. Exactly.
And I do plan on having you on more than just this one time. I'd like you to be kind of my ladies' fitness and wellness expert, because there is so much to chew on, and we're only going to be able to scratch the surface on what people want to know. And I would urge people to send me questions and things like that, because that gives us more of a jumping off spot there. Because even just talking about food, and, you and I have discussed this when you're raising girls. You have 3, I have 3, and
mine are a little older.
A little bit, but, it's also one of those things where there's a dialogue in the world about what a girl should look like and be like, and, what they should and shouldn't eat. And it's a lot. And it's, as a dad, it's tough to control that narrative, and also to make sure that you're not part of the problem, because we're naturally like, oh man, look at my fatty stomach, or I'm talking about me, not them, but it all rolls downhill.
I could go back and kick myself for the amount of times when they were young that I was like, I'm
talking
so
about
fat.
your body,
like, just being horrible to myself. And that's what they heard for so long. And I'm so happy that we've had these conversations, right? We've had very blunt conversations about it's just not healthy, and I don't want them to live in that world. I want to promote strength, and they all luckily they run and they love to do things, and they're active because they've watched one. They've grown up in an atmosphere where they've gotten to go to marathons and see that it can be fun, exercise and working out, whatever hiking, walking, swimming, whatever modality you choose, but that it's exercise should be about feeling good, mental health, physical health, not weight management. So
I think it's empowering to work out in the right lane.
It feels so good to feel strong. And, I think that's important to have the conversations at home, because if they have social media or they're at school, 7, 8, 9-year-olds are talking about wanting to diet and wanting to lose weight because of the culture that we are in. And, they're going to be exposed to it regardless. So just having those really honest conversations, that is really hard, but, really being supportive and not talking, like you said, about ourselves in that way is, it starts there.
And it's tough because even when you're talking to the other adult in the room, they listen to everything.
They hear everything. They're sponges.
My 5th grader, who's just about to go to 6th grade, she's at this mode now where we'll be talking adult conversation in the kitchen. I look over and she's at the breakfast bar, eyes wide open, staring at me. And then if I even try and get her out of the conversation, she's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? They want to know.
Yes.
And that sponge is important. Now, for us, it's interesting because I also feel different about fasting, obviously, as an adult versus what a child should do. A child is growing and should be full of nutrition. And that was one of my problems is I was never hungry as a kid myself. And so my mom would make me the smoothie, or she would have the breakfast ready, and I would just discard it or find a way to not have it. And I remember being tired and lethargic and, he's being ADD or whatever. I'm like, maybe I needed a sandwich.
Totally.
It's some of these things that I was not doing. It's like I would maybe open up my lunch and just find there's some sugar in there, take that.
Oreos, have the Oreos.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But with our girls, and, I don't want to tell them what to eat as they grow up. But right now, half of my morning is spent returning them to their chair to eat a little scrambled eggs, or I make them a smoothie with Greek yogurt every morning, where I want them to have those things because they're growing and their little bin of food is burning bright even without running around. And so I'm diligent about that, but that's about as far as I go into the food world for them.
I think that, again, my personal opinion, introducing foods but not making a big deal of them is huge. Because if we are, yes, like even like the whole like finish your plate, like forcing them to continue eating when they are not hungry is what creates in adults this like not knowing when to stop. They're not learning how to listen to their bodies. So we do, even when they're young, like they're going to eat when they're hungry for the most part, right? And so yes, we know our kids when they get a little grumpy or they might need a little snack. So finding the snacks that work and not getting too bent out over like if they've had, only a little bit of junk food or too many goldfish instead of whatever protein, that's okay when they're little and
they're going to burn it off.
They're going to burn it off. And it is about the messaging when they're that young. Like we really just need to like not go there as far as like even being too wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
Food just needs to be, if they're hungry, they eat. That's what food is for. And our job is hopefully to like provide them with options and hopefully expand their palate. But there's so many kids that they just eat chicken nuggets and grilled cheese or bean and cheese burritos or whatever. They have their 3 things they like until they're 13. And then they go on and they have a great palate and they're fine.
Yeah, and it is a slippery slope a little bit though,
hard.
Because when I was growing up, and I'm sure it was the same for you, you go to certain kids' houses, you open a drawer, and it's everything from the junk food aisle at Costco, the big boxes, all of it, and like we didn't have all that stuff.
Right.
And so the way that my mom regulated it was you fight those battles when you're shopping at the grocery store. Whereas if it's in the cupboard, my kids are going to have it.
Right,
I mean, Ruffles and the, fruit roll-ups and the whole thing, like they want it all.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like if I don't want them I do want some nutritional value in it. So like that's where I do it, is I try to not have it there. Now, it's there. Right. And it always seems to find a way there. I'm like, how did we buy 5 things of Pringles? That's not even a chip.
Yeah.
But we've got it. And I don't push those things. But I'm also in a strange spot with, like, I was the kid who wouldn't eat the dinner. I was the kid who got left at the table. Like, it was a fight all the time. White fish and steamed spinach. Right. Like, how is a 7-year-old going to even eat it?
Yeah.
And so I would throw the fit and we would go back and forth. And it's like real contentious times at part of my childhood. So I try not to do that. Yeah. But I definitely have a child, and everyone in my family knows that if they do not eat, they are a zombie.
Yeah.
Like they're I don't want to say the worst, but they act in a way that is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, what would you do in that scenario?
Same, finding the things that work. It's exploring the things that do work. And, I think that the smoothies or whatnot, feeding them before they get to that space. Like, we all
and
know.
You can
we
feel
have the kiddos that go from I'm kind of hungry to, oh my gosh, she should have eaten 10 minutes ago because now it is chaos. So preventative maintenance, like planning ahead and, maybe trying to, before they get to that space, trying to find the things they like. Let those be the times that it is something that is the Pringles. Think about like, we've all know the kids too, that if they're from a home that is like, no sugar, no sugar, no sugar.
When they get
to an environment where there's sugar available, like they don't know how to regulate. Right? So I think making it not a big deal, they're like, oh yeah, if I have a cookie, I have a cookie. If I don't, I don't. But when we turn it into this, I could go all day about like good food, bad food. No, there's no bad foods. It's just food, right?
Yeah.
So when we attach a label and we kind of restrict, that just makes you want something. Like, think about that, right? That's in general. Like if you're told I can't have this, then all you're thinking about is the thing you can't have.
That's
a good point. Available, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to like be so fixated on wanting it. So in moderation, again, I'm not saying that it's a free for all, but you're right. Like at the grocery store, pick a few things that are like, where can we meet in the middle that it feels like a treat?
Yeah, they love it, but
it's still not, the same as, a bag of gummy bears or whatnot. So finding those little areas that chocolate or pretzels, or find something that is like,
or like the dried mangoes with the little sugar on it,
that they like, that they even maybe giving them the option of like, okay, I'm going to let you pick out this, or this that are kind of things that they enjoy, like let them kind of have a hand in those choices maybe, because then they don't feel necessarily like it's something hold
Yeah.
this.
And you make a good point, because if you look at, and I know your stance on alcohol, but this is a good analogy for this, is that if you look at European countries versus America, now America's slowed down a little bit, but if you look in the 2000s, 2010s, we'd get an exchange student over and they would be completely lost on why we were so obsessed with binge drinking or sneaking off and having 10 drinks, and then you would get to talking to them and they're like, no, I drink wine it's pretty often, but they have a little glass and then they're done.
Right.
Because it wasn't like, we're going to sneak off and we're going to do this. And I totally get that.
And we just glorify it.
Yes. But I will say that we're not in here saying that there's a perfect ace in the hole, because yesterday had a talent show with my oldest, and then my younger daughter had jet boat tours out on the river for the end of the year thing. And when she came back, went to the talent show, we all went out for a meal to celebrate the talent show, and we hadn't even gotten to the food, and you could see my middle daughter was going sideways. And so the fries can't get to the table quick enough.
Totally.
And so I know that it's never 100% easy, but as soon as she got a fry, we were back.
Yep. Totally.
And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it was like, boom.
For sure.
And so, maybe having more snacks in the purse yesterday would have been
just having it on hand, right before, just offer the snack.
Yeah, exactly. Before the car ride next time.
For sure.
The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Motorsport Hillsboro, and you got to get down there. They've got these epic gas electric mountain bikes, premium e-bikes that fly off the showroom floor. Why? Because right now, they're over $3,000 off MSRP, up to 60% off for you right now. And if you haven't ridden one of these, they are sick. Pedal assist, so when you're out on the trails, grinding away, you'll go faster, farther, and harder than you ever have before. And talk about hitting that second part of the trail. You might have a favorite thing that you hit up and you can never get to where you want to go. Well, those days are over. Hit them up today at motorsporthillsboro.com and go in and see them for great inventory across the board. So stay rad. It's Motorsport Hillsboro with the best electric mountain bikes around, the Gas G Light Trail 2.0 e-bike. The Fit for Radio podcast is also brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. Now, you want to deal with these guys if you're having any issues in those three mediums, plumbing, sewer, or septic. They're my go-to people. Let me give you a little story. My water heater had gone out, and they got on the phone with me, troubleshooted the thing, got the thing working again, and then on top of all of that, I didn't have to buy a new water heater. Now, when you do have to buy one, the good thing about Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic is they will give you $500 off that water heater just by hitting them up. The best people around, and when it comes to any issues I have with my plumbing, I always hit them up. AxiomPDX.com. And if you want a special discount, you can call them right now at 971-431-4810. Tell them Drew sent you. It is the spot, AxiomPDX.com. So this is another interesting thing, Wendy, that I wanted to ask you about. Everybody hears this thing when they go and they Google, how much protein do I need to eat? It gives you this little auto summary that says 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Right.
Now,
that's a lot.
That is a lot. Now, if you're the smallest person out there, that's still a lot. If you're a 200-pound person, that's so much food.
Right.
And I don't know even financially, how most people are going to find a way to hit 200 grams of protein a day. Right. Where do you stand on all of that?
Again, I think that when we know better, we do better. And I think at one point that was kind of the standard. And now the nice thing is we're getting more scientific data and readily available to us. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. So, which is a bit different. I'm like a huge proponent of body composition. Don't love the whole scale thing on a regular basis, but knowing your body comp is important because it tells you basically how much fat you have, how much lean mass you have, what your resting metabolic rate is, which we can kind of talk about. But that's going to give you your lean muscle mass and about 1 gram of protein per pound of that. So if I'm 97 pounds of muscle, then I'm going to want to stay around 97. I'm not a big fan of being, you have to have, your macros have to look exactly like this because we live in a world that is a little bit all over the place, but ballpark, we want to kind of stay around there. If you have some significant kidney issues, then the protein needs might be a little bit different. People are sometimes worried about having too much protein because of kidneys. More than likely, that's not going to be a factor. It might be if you were having a pound or a gram per pound of body weight, but as long as you're just kind of staying with that pound.
So the kidney thing,
muscle mass.
The kidney thing has always got me a little bit sideways, and I'll be the first to say I'm not the most hydrated person.
Mm-hmm.
I drink a ton of water, but I just always seem to be slightly dehydrated. And I think that's partially like workout regimen and stuff intertwined into my life. But sometimes when I am exerting a lot, I will feel my kidneys. And then I'm like, there's so much information and misinformation out there. I got people telling me, how many cashews are you eating a day? I'm like, I don't know, like 20. You can only have 9 cashews. And I'm not a big counter like that.
Yeah.
I do my whole fitness thing in a more glazed over, like, let's do most of the general things correctly and we will win.
Yeah.
But when it's little things like my kidneys, I'm like, am I dehydrated? Is it protein? Is it the cashews? Yeah. What's going on? And so
that, I think everybody's so different. Again, like, not sure. Hydration could be a thing. If you're drinking water, that's great and hydrating. Also eating fruits and veggies where there's a lot of water in those things as well. Just kind of looking at it as an overall picture. I think like half your body weight in ounces is what is pretty much recommended for water. So that's kind of a nice, like, just standard to kind of abide by. Again, can be ballpark, but that's kind of where we now at this point in time stand on water. So just kind of trying to hydrate. There was a time when we would be like, okay, well, for every cup of coffee you have, take away a glass of water because that that's not true. So there's a myth for you. Like, you don't have to take away from every ounce of caffeine that depletes the water. So, aim for about half your body weight in ounces of hydration and you're good to go. I think that you hit it perfectly on kind of glazing over. I think this is, again, where the why comes into fact, right? Or into account is, what is your goal? So if I'm working with a client that weight management is their goal, we're going to need to do a body comp and we're going to want to see, like, what is your body burn at rest? We're going to take that number and then we're going to say, how active are you on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? And we're going to do some calculations. As a trainer, I've got those like little calculations. Yeah. So I'm going to take that resting metabolic rate and I'm going to times it by, 1.3 or 1.25 or whatever those numbers are. And then I'm going to look at that calorie number and then subtract a little bit based on how much you want to lose if weight loss is your goal. And then I'm going to take that number and go, okay, out of this calorie window, say it's 15 to 1,700 calories, I would like to make sure you get at least 100 grams of protein based on, again, what their lean body mass is. I'm going to have you hopefully eat fruits and veggies a couple times a day. I'm not going to divide the carbs and fats. Those are probably going to fall into place as needed.
Yeah.
And we're just going to stay in that kind of number. Make sure you're drinking your water, your fiber, your sodium should, be low. Just kind of ballpark it and let's start there. That way you feel good. You're getting enough calories, because if you're in like too much of a calorie deficit, you're just going to feel like crap. And your body needs a specific amount to be able to go lift and go run or just get through your workday, depending on what you do. So, finding that space of the number that is right for you based on your goals, and then making sure you're getting that protein, your fruits and vegetables, your fiber.
So when you're looking at all that now, a lot of people choose to work out fasted versus work out with a protein in them or whatever. And there's times where, life gets on and then I get over here and I haven't eaten anything and I wasn't really that hungry. So I just went and worked out. And then afterwards, I'm like walking over to the studio and I'm like, you better get that protein bar out of your bag before you even get through that door. And, and to me, sometimes I'm like, that's not ideal. Obviously, you don't want your body to be sending signals to you. Right. So, and everyone is going to be different, but
Mhm.
how would you suggest approaching, not just for me, but for people who want to work out, fasted versus non-fasted, and should it be such a thought?
Great question. I think it depends on what the workout is. So a fasted, maybe a brisk walk or light jog might be great. Maybe a lift might be okay. Usually people like to have a little bit of something before they're going to do a lot of lifting.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not going to go do a huge hit, workout that's going to last over, 45, 50 minutes fasted. Some people might be able to, they might feel fine. But again, it just really is based on what time of day is it? Like I work out at 5:30 in the morning. So it's
You're
going to be
not
a little
gonna
bit
be
easier
full.
for me to be fasted. However, if I was going to go run at 10 in the morning or 9 in the morning or later in the day, there's no way I could do that fasted, right? If you've been going all the way through your day too. So, I mean, time of workout, kind of workout, how you feel, all of that's going to be really important.
Mm-hmm. And as long, it's kind of like back to that idea of when you're having the output, it makes it less detrimental. People who work out not at all or not active, I feel like they're going to be a much bigger slave to the calorie count
Mhm.
because it's really their only
Right.
weapon.
Yeah, I will say we have this conversation a lot just in my job. Um, Calories from workouts are such a minor part of weight management. So I think I'm 54. I will share that like I have been brought up in a culture that working out was for weight loss. And our goal, even at the club, like we really try hard to be like, nope, working out is not actually what's going to make the dent in weight management. Are there benefits? A million of them. I'm such a fan of it. However, it is all the nutrition that's going to make the difference because most of weight management comes from one, what is your base metabolic rate? What is your body burn at rest? Like if you were in a coma just laying there, what would the calorie count be of what your body burns? You need to know that number. And then what is your non-exercise activity look like? We talked about when you're not working out. Do you have a job that's in construction or do you sit in an office all day long? So that's going to be a really big difference. The thermal effect of food is going to make a little bit of a difference. That thermal effective food is
Can
going to
you
make
explain what is that exactly?
like how many calories it takes to digest the food that you have consumed. It's a very small number, but that's a little bit of it. Non-exercise thermogenesis is probably more than exercise. So basically what you're burning the other 23 hours a day takes a lot more into account than what that one workout is. Like think about what your lift is. Like how many calories you really burn when you're lifting. Or if I'm going to go for a 5-mile run, that's going to be kind of 500 calories-ish or something like that.
But it's
when you
really
take it
not a
into
ton.
nutrition, like if I'm teaching a strength class, I might only be 200 to 300 calories.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a protein bar, right?
Yeah.
So we have to like really be aware that the weight, I hate saying weight loss, but weight management is way more based on nutrition and really to like get it out of our heads that we're going to like burn our calories through working out is going to be so helpful. If I'm training for a marathon, if I'm doing these major high rocks, if I'm doing like, major HIIT workouts that are like really burning a ton of calories over the week, then yeah, that's going to make a little bit more of a dent or, for that time of, or that space that I'm training for something. But for the most part, it is not the workouts that are really going to be making a difference.
Well, and I think this is also good for people's mentals while they're on a treadmill or whatever. There's something that I just really dislike that calorie burn counter on there because it's moving so slow.
Right.
And, especially if you're doing something you don't normally do. Like I ride a Peloton in the morning just before my kids get up and I do some cardio there and then some push-ups and then I come here. So I'm not necessarily always on a treadmill.
Right.
But like the other day, I saw my wife on a treadmill and it seems to be working out for her. So I was like, maybe I'll just go rock some steps. I was on there for like 40 minutes and like the calories were just slowly walking off. And so if you look at the big picture of kind of what you said, if you look at it as you concentrate on the nutrition, you check the box of making sure you get your workouts a certain number of times a week or whatever your body will allow. and then realizing that you're burning calories when you're walking to your car, when you're pulling your kid out of the kid's seat, when you're dragging groceries in, like everything is part of the burn.
Right.
So
and
just
it's a big picture.
Hit that nutritional, and you'll be more all right on the back end.
Women should be weightlifting at least 3 times a week. I will throw that in.
So when it comes to ladies and their workouts, I think that we've also got a bit of a changing of the guard on that thinking, whereas it used to be like, grab your 4-pound weights and just wiggle them around, hoping to tone. But has that has changed?
That has definitely changed. My classes know that I always say tone is like a 4-letter word because there's no such thing as toning muscle. So we talk about that a lot here at the club. You can build muscle. Muscle can atrophy or stay the same, but it doesn't like firm up, right? So you can look more toned from being in that calorie deficit and losing what's on top of the muscle and or doing progressive overload and building the muscle. But you can't really build muscle with light weights. And that is definitely subjective because a light weight for me is different than what a light weight would be for my mom. Or, we talk about that all the time. I get the question of like, well, how much weight should I be lifting? Depends on, who you are. And again, what is your goal? And, have you had a knee replacement? Like there's so many factors. However, you do need to be lifting heavy enough to where you're feeling, ideally just for time's sakes, 8 to 12 reps should feel challenging. That's like kind of the general guidance I give people. You could build muscle using 4-pound weights, but you would have to do a heck of a lot of repetitions. So who has time for that? So I think that, again, and it kind of comes down to, again, what do you love to do aside from weightlifting? We have bar classes and we have Pilates and, so many classes that are fabulous. And do they build muscle? Not necessarily, but are they fantastic workouts? Yes. Do you enjoy it? Are you going to be consistent with it? Yes. That's great.
Yeah.
So finding, I think it's an and thing. Like women over 40, even I would say 30, should be lifting significantly, ideally 3 times a week. Like that, we're just finding that we need to be working on building muscle mass. It's really hard to build muscle mass after menopause. So that's going to be something that's super important. And the more you do it before, the better off you are later. So you're not going to have, you're not going to be as at risk for osteoporosis or osteopenia, like all those things that can happen after menopause, which can be a whole nother conversation. But lifting weights is really important.
And I think that message is getting out, because if you're up here in the gym, you see a lot of ladies working in the weight area, not just the machines. They're on the free weights. They're on the squat racks. They're got big dumbbells. Awesome. I mean, I had a lady the other day. She's like, she wanted to lift a weight that was so heavy that she couldn't pull it off the bar, but she wanted to crush a workout. So she's like, could you just move this to here? And I'm like, sure. And then I'm thinking, is she going to use that? And then she just crushed it.
Awesome.
And so they understand now that you don't have to, it's not just about a thigh master and skipping meals. You can get strong and you can look great.
Yes.
You're not you don't look like a meathead when you do it correctly.
Right. And the whole, I think that, again, this is such a big conversation, but, even when I was starting out in the industry and the whole, I don't want to lift weights because I'm going to be big and bulky like that. You have to try to be big and bulky. Yes, some people genetically do build muscle maybe more quickly or their muscles are more compact. I'm almost 5'2", so more compact than someone that's long and lean and, so everybody's going to build a little bit differently. But again, the bulkiness comes down to nutrition, not the lifting weights.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really important. And yes, I've been here almost 10 years. And when I started, I think I started the very first strength class at the club. And now we have over 20 a week and they are all full. It is, strength training is by far our most popular format at the club, which is amazing. It's so fun to see.
And it's something that's been huge for my wife, Amy, who over the course of the last probably 7 or 8 months here at the club has really adapted to the classes. And you see her take it from there out to the gym floor now because she has her regimen and she can get after it. And, instead of, she used to do the same 2 workout videos on the camera at our house, and it's I could tell you all the moves.
Exactly.
And now, granted, I will say when I would be talked into doing some of those classes. It's humbling, kind of like when I took the bar class with
reformer,
you. I took the Pilates reformer class with you. It was, it gives you a wake-up call, but I think it's important to push yourself and to know that you're not going to get bulky because, like, I work out all the time, but I don't increase I'm not trying to become like this big dude, especially when I'm 5'7". There's not much room to grow without looking a little bit, in my mind, me looking silly. So you can stay toned in your lane and lift all the time. You just do it appropriately.
Totally. Yeah.
So when it comes to all this stuff for ladies, is there a blueprint for what is the best kind of way to get started? Or is it all going to be about different bodies, go in different lanes? I mean, for the person who's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I think establishing what your goals are is huge, like understanding, and then what your obstacles are is going to be important. Like what holds you back, sometimes people are really intimidated to walk into a gym, like finding the thing that's going to work for every person. Especially because strength training can be so intimidating. Like we can pretty much go for a walk or do the cardio. I don't think it's as intimidating. There's so many ways to do it, especially now with the virtual stuff. But strength training, finding a good trainer is going to be really important. One that hopefully understands that everybody is different. If you ever have a trainer say like everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, red flag. Understanding that a trainer needs to know your individual needs and your goals and then how to work with that. Again, one person going from this chair to standing 10 times might be the same as another person doing, 40-pound dumbbells in each hand, 10 squats, right? So what is a heavy for one person is, going to look different on another person. And so finding someone that understands that and giving a nice template for you to start with. It can be really intimidating knowing, how many sets, how many reps, what order should I do things in? And so, finding someone that can help you through that.
And getting moving is such a big part. I had a guy on here a couple of weeks ago he'd let his life get sideways and he ballooned up to 350 pounds. This is a guy who was just, probably 180 when I met him the first time.
Yeah.
And, the point of entry at that is very daunting. And the reason I bring that up is he just started, when he finally decided to change his life, it was, I'm going to walk to the end of the driveway, get to the end of the driveway, get to the end of the block, get around the block over time.
Yep.
And so the reason I bring that up, and he eventually lost all the weight and now he looks like RoboCop. But
of course,
your blueprint will change over time, where you're saying at first you're just going to stand up in this chair 10 times. In 2 years, you might be running a 5K or more. Yeah, absolutely. Because your body recovers at a rapid rate when you're a product of what you continuously do. And like I spent so long just, I say now, being lazy, taking the elevator at work always. There were years that I took an elevator to the 3rd floor of my radio station and never took the stairs.
Awesome.
And then I remember I was like, I'll take the stairs today. And I got to the top and I was all, am I 150 years old?
Stairs, though, can be, man, they're humbling no matter what.
But at the time, like a 30-year-old man should be able to get to the top of the stairs without
hyperventilating.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are wake-up calls. I lived in a single-story ranch-style house with no stairs. And, granted, I have all those things now. I'm carrying kids up and down those things. But it's amazing how you can get stuck. And, I mean, I look at myself, I look at pictures, and I know you're not supposed to be talking down on yourself, but in the past tense, I am so ashamed of that.
Right.
And I use it as fuel for myself. People are like, well, you don't necessarily look that much different. You're like, well, I could peel the onion back and I could tell you 1,000 things that are wrong with this. And when you're happy and healthy, and, I was talking earlier about how that's kind of like that gives you a boost to know that you can, in a moment's notice, you could do something. If a baby fell into a river, you could do something. If somebody was, getting assaulted in an alley, I don't want to do it, but I could do something, and And it's all those things that like taking back the power of your life.
For sure.
And like there was a point in my life where on like a picture, it looks fine, but I knew I couldn't like wrestle a stranger for a full minute. Like I couldn't do any of the things that would protect you in a pinch.
Yeah.
And now you do things to keep yourself out of trouble, but you also need to be ready for what life throws at you.
Right. And you have kids and it's fun to, I mean, I have 3 girls now that all love to run. So I'm like, I'm going to do this as long as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And now that once I crossed the 40-year-old threshold and, I'll be 45 in 2 days. And once I crossed that threshold, it was no longer about vanity and 100% about longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And I just shifted it to, all right, I want to live long-term, but that vanity will happen if I stay the course, but I don't need it.
Right. It's not the central, motivator.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that, we talk about functional training a lot, and it kind of was the trend for a while, like everything was functional, but it is true. Like what that means is you're doing exercises that you're going to replicate outside of the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it all the time with my classes. It's important. We need to be able to get off of the floor. I used to take my dad to his doctor's appointments. And at the time I was like driving a Jetta or something, and he couldn't easily, like we'd have to switch cars because he couldn't get in and out of the car. And that is something that always sticks with me. Like
I need that mobility.
I want to make sure that I can get in and out of a car if my kiddos are taking me somewhere when I'm older. And, I need to be able to get off the floor holding my grandson and all of those things. Like that's what we want to train for.
Exactly. And there should be medals for those types of things.
Exactly.
The Fit for Radio podcast is brought to you by Axiom Plumbing, Sewer, and Septic. Any job in the Portland area, they got you covered. Even Vancouver. Right now, you could get yourself $500 off a water heater if you're in the market for that. Locally owned and operated. I love that. Not private equity. He is the real deal. Bruce, born and raised as an Oregonian, been in the area his entire life. Residential or commercial, any job, big or small, they'll take care of you any time. They do that for me. They'll do it for you. AxiomPDX.com or give them a call at 971-431-4810. Like I said, AxiomPDX.com. Also, great deals right now at Motorsport Hillsboro, who is a proud sponsor of the Fit for Radio podcast and the Gas G-Lite Trail 2.0. Electric mountain bikes are on board right now, but there is a limited number available at Motorsport Hillsboro, as right now you can get over $3,500 off MSRP. $21.99 will have you riding off and down the trail, going further, faster, and harder than you ever have before. Hit them up today at motorsporthillsboro.com. Stay rad. So as we go through some of these myths that kind of, I'm just going to go ahead and say that social media has really made 100 times more aggressive. There's one that goes around that says that women over 40 should not do HIIT classes. They shouldn't do that high intensity stuff because of how it would affect their cortisol levels.
Yes.
What is that about?
Every woman over 40 has probably seen that on social media. Never do HIIT. So it is true. Like when you're doing high intensity exercising, your cortisol levels are elevated. That is a great thing as long as you're also bringing those cortisol levels down. So a lot of times what that means is it's just going to bring those cortisol levels up. And then if you're always staying in a high stress environment, so whether it's your work, your family, you're not sleeping, you're only doing high intensity workout, your cortisol is going to stay up, and that can lead to insulin resistance, which can lead to weight gain, etc. However, if you are doing those workouts, what happens usually, as long as you're not staying up here, your base will come down and even lower than it was. So it's good that we can bring cortisol levels up because that is kind of your fight or flight, right? So we need to be able to be prepared. It's providing energy at a time needed. So if something happens and you need to run really quick or whatnot, your body's ready for that. So HIIT workouts can be fantastic for that. It also falls into what we were talking about earlier. Do what you enjoy. So strength training, I always say prioritize strength training for women, especially. Like try to get that in 2 to 3 times a week. 4 would be great too. However, if running is your jam, run a couple days a week. If you love that, walking, HIIT, high rocks, which I'll talk about in a second, whatever those things are that bring you joy and that you are going to consistently do, That's honestly the key, because
You're
if
going to do things you love.
it, don't not do it. Just make sure that maybe you're also, managing your sleep well, and maybe you're having a day that you are resting. I think that that can be something that's hard for a lot of us, is like feeling like a day off is like being lazy, but that rest is really important. It doesn't mean you can't take a walk or maybe play golf
So
or something.
I think that's a problem, a mental lapse that I have. Whereas if and I am here a lot, you could attest to that,
Mm.
but a couple of days, like kids stuff will get in the way, or I've got meetings, and 2 or 3 days will pass, and I'm like starting to like grip at my own biceps and think they're
right.
melting away.
Yeah.
How do you put someone's mind at ease?
I think, our body makes the changes when we are at rest. And so I have to kind of remind my clients or members of that too. Like, you don't actually see the results or get the results while you're working out. It's when you are not working out that those changes take place. So, the rest can be really good for our body, especially if like we're trending to where we're so many weeks or whatnot with like always kind of doing those workouts. Even a week off vacation is absolutely fine. And a lot of times you come back feeling amazing and kind of like reinvigorated, and, you're going to get even better workouts, and that's when you're going to progress. So I think that, we kind of underestimate the value of recovery, rest, foam rolling, Theraguns, all of that stuff is
that's also its own
huge
workout.
Part of fitness. And I think that that's something that's only been in the last like 10 years that we've really started to see how important that is. And that is, a component of fitness where it used to just be called like flexibility or stretching, but now like understanding like really recovery is really important.
Yeah, it's one of those deals also where, I think we get a little bit of a brainwash with the pump versus progress. So when you're in a gym, you're lifting weights and you're like, your muscles are getting bigger because they're getting full of blood, but they're not necessarily growing right there. They grow once the rest happens. So that's when I'm hanging out on a Saturday and somebody invites me to do something other than the gym, I'm going to have Wendy in my mind telling me it's fine.
Yep. Especially if you've been doing your protein and,
all checking the other boxes.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So if somebody is, they're doing all this stuff. You mentioned earlier, and I do want to ask you about the High Rocks thing.
Oh, yeah.
But before that, I just wanted to ask one last dietary question, because you gave bread kind of a pass, not a true pass, but a pass. Whereas
I'll give it a pass.
But like, how far does that go? Because I feel like, and now granted, I had a sandwich 2 days ago at lunch on the lawn with my kids, and I can get past that and move on. But when I find that when I find like, you did the burger, and then a couple days later you did the sandwich, and then a couple days later you had the toast, and I feel like I'm going in reverse.
Villainize bread.
Well, but bread versus bread. So like my mom and my wife make real bread. It's the stuff in the store with the 300 ingredients that scares me, and aside from just the ingredients, there's just like a direct thing that's always been told to us, that you eat the bread and it's going to go straight to your waist. That's just something.
Beer?
I actually don't drink beer. I do drink alcohol, but I don't drink beer.
Right.
Hard water.
Seltzer.
Yeah, but
okay.
I still I would be the first to say that that's not a better option than bread.
Right. So here's where I would say, I also make sourdough. I love making sourdough. If I can make sourdough, I'm going to have that overpackaged bread.
Yes.
I'm a runner, so I need to eat bread before I go for a run. And I think that we have a tendency to villainize foods so much that I think you could have bread every single day and be just fine. Agreed. If you can find the ones that are better quality, less ingredients, less processing, great. We live in a society that everyone does not have that available to them.
Not
and
easy.
I would never, think if you lived in an environment that peanut butter and jelly sandwich was your most nutritious meal of the day, I would say if you have to eat 3 of those a day, like that's okay.
Then eat 'em.
It's okay. And if you're doing all of the other things like we talked about in this box of where are your calories, where's your protein, where's your water, where are your sodium levels, where's your fiber, all of these things are in check. If bread is included in that little space every day, go for it. If you're finding that you're really struggling with gluten, of course, make that adjustment. I think that there's now so many options, like go down the bread aisle now, or, there's gluten-free that, I mean, you can find it all if you have the means to do so. So yeah, I'm not a big proponent of eliminating bread at all. I think
maybe I just need you as my inner thought process.
We've done this thing where we attach like good and bad.
But I do think that we are all, and I'm just a broad brush here. Yeah. I feel like we are all, I'll start with the one I'm more sure of. We're all at least a little bit lactose intolerant, and that we're all have a little bit, gluten is not the easiest thing for the body to process either. And so, well, granted, you might, not you, just somebody might be like, well, I eat bread and it's fine. And if we walk through all the things that happen during your day, I could maybe say that this, that, or the other, that weird tummy ache that you get, or what's happening to your complexion, or these other things. So there are other factors. Yes. And I think person by person, we're more or less likely to be affected by that. I mean, there are entire cultures that can't eat dairy because of what it does to their body. So you're right. I need to go easier on myself. I don't regulate anyone else's bread, by the way.
And I agree. Like, I 1000% agree. Like, if you have someone in your life that can make sourdough bread, it is the best, because you get like the benefit of it, and you don't feel like you're eating like the processed food, and there's less bloating and all of that. I think I just sometimes I get defensive, because I know that there's so many people that don't have the luxury of supplementing their calories with the ways that we can maybe.
It's not fair to make it a requirement, because if you don't cook, then you have to buy the bread, and that bread is only available to the person with the biggest wallet.
Sale, and
exactly.
you got to do what's best for you. But yes, if you have the means and you have all the options, or can, but again, what are you doing for your workouts? Because if you're an endurance athlete,
then you're fine.
You're probably gonna need it. You're gonna need those carbs. Like, you definitely need to be able to sustain workouts that are longer than 50 minutes. And to do that, you got to have glycogen, which is usually found in those carbohydrates. So if I stay active, I can have my bread, my cake, and eat it too. Yes.
Which I am, since today is, just full disclosure, today's my mom's 70th birthday. Right. My birthday's in 2 days, so I'm going to pick up a sheet cake as soon as we're done.
From Costco?
From Costco, the big dog. And so, I do have a plan for health and wellness, but I'm not going to skip a party. So
perfect.
I won't just eat the cake. I'm bringing the cake,
That's
Wendy.
Amazing.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
You're the best. And like I said, we're going to have you back on. I think there's so much more to talk about. And I really want to dive into some more of the things that affect ladies that you have a ton more knowledge than I do on, and you could teach me a thing or two along the way. And, while they aren't all of the things that I think would necessarily be best for me to discuss with my kids, it'll be great stuff for my wife to talk to them about these things. And if I need to be support, I got all the info in here.
Love it.
And of course, come down and check out everything they got going on here at the Stafford Hills Club. Place is amazing. I don't just say it, I mean it. I live the experience here just like you should. It is a sense of community. Check them out, staffordhills.com, and tell them Drew sent you for half off your initiation. Wendy Arendt, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you soon.